Hey, this is Nicole Kelly, host of Loud and Proud. Thanks for listening to the following broadcast on Public House Media.
I'm the Greg.
And I am Dave Show.
We host the Greg and Dave Show on Public House Media.
Thanks for listening to the following broadcast on Public House Media. Once you're done with this episode, I hope you'll come check out our show, The Greg and Dave Show, where we talk about strange, bizarre, and sometimes just downright quirky news stories that you may not have heard about.
A new show comes out every Wednesday. Be sure to subscribe on iTunes. And hey, thanks for listening to the following broadcast on Public House Media.
I mean, we'll go right into it. We'll go right into it. But it's great to talk to you on this day, on this week, on the horizon of your second season finale of The Good Place. What's it like for you right now? Because I know that there's a lot of eyes, a lot of buzz about not just this season in general, but what are they going to do for this season finale to top last year? Is that like a special kind of anticipation to see how the world reacts?
It is. I mean, I think I'm just really, I don't know, I'm really like, I just love how invested people are in the story. You know, it's like, because it's a comedy. And I think that generally, you know, comedies like narratively aren't always as long. Like, you know, like it's not, you know, several episodes worth of story, you know, that accumulate into something really sort of intriguing in the way that The Good Place is. So it's I'm really just sort of like this happy that so many people are invested in the characters and the story and where we're going to go, rather than just like what jokes do we have coming up next, you know, how funny is this going to be. There's like, you know, more to it than that.
Yeah, it's almost like the comedy is, well, a big part of it is almost like a cherry on top of the aspects of the shows that are keeping people coming back episode to episode and wanting to see what happens next. Is it hard for you because, you know, as opposed to, say, someone on like The Big Bang Theory or, you know, and most other comedies, to your point, they can kind of casually go around and do interviews and talk about pretty much whatever they want, and it's not going to be that big a deal, but you kind of have to be on lockdown as far as certain things that you can and can't say, I'd imagine, at all times. Is that something that stresses you out, or is it a challenge?
I mean, sort of, just because, I mean, I think that what our show does is so cool. I want to blab it to everybody. But I mean, like, I don't know. I mean, it's like, honestly, it's just fun to have a secret, you know, for people to like be really like, you know, sort of like on the edge of their seat all the time and really wanting to like plumb for information. You know exactly where it's going, and just being able to like just, you know, dangle it above their heads and not give it to them. So that's fun. I mean, it's actually not a lot of pressure as much as just sort of like fun to have something like that that's only for me, you know?
Right. You know, you mentioned the fact that this is at its heart a comedy as well. Is this the sort of thing, I mean, let's go back to your beginning. You did a lot of stage work and a variety of different TV roles. But is this the direction that you always saw yourself heading, being in a show of this nature?
Not really. I always sort of imagined that, like, when I first moved to New York, I was always imagining that I would be on stage and do, like, you know, some off-Broadway plays, and then, you know, soon after Broadway plays, and then, you know, probably wind up doing a lot of indie film. Like, that was sort of where I thought I would land. I just didn't feel like network TV was something that I was suited for. And in particular, like sitcoms, I didn't think that, you know, I was particularly like adept at sort of just landing jokes in the way that I see on a lot of network television. And so I wanted to do something like that. I thought it would be fun, but I just didn't think that my skill set was suited to that. And so this show actually, because it's sort of left of center in that way, has it is suited to sort of my natural skill set, which is a little bit more character driven. It's like that's sort of what I like to do. It's like I like to try to find the funny. The last thing I want to do is try to force it, And I'm not one of those guys that particularly enjoys just like going way off script and just blowing up everything all the time. It's like I kind of like to see what we can mine in the words that are there, and I think that our writers do such a great job all the time that I'm like, there's a lot here to try and to play with, and I really want to make sure that I honor that and just do my job, do my part. And so I feel like this show is sort of a one of a kind thing for me. It's like the perfect thing for me, and it's not necessarily what I thought would always be out there. And so I feel like as far as network sitcoms go, this is the one that I could see myself being on. But before this, I wondered if that was someplace that I would fit.
Did you kind of know ahead of time, or in the process of pursuing or getting the role, like, did you have a good understanding of what the show was actually going to be? Because it's so kind of out there and different from anything that's come before it. It almost seems impossible to really know until you were already in it. But was it kind of clear on the page what the direction was and what kind of show you'd be looking at?
Not at all. Not at all. I mean, when we were auditioning for it, all of us got our audition materials were all fake. We didn't have anything from the actual show. So, we had there was they wrote these characters and these scenes that were sort of like, various aspects of the character were incorporated into these audition scenes for us. It wasn't the actual scenario that we would find ourselves in the show. So I had no idea. I just knew, as described, he was going to be like a really nice guy who works for the Innocence Project and is trying to find himself, sort of in a relationship with Eleanor of sorts. And it was very vague. It was really, really vague. So I had no idea where we were going. And it wasn't until actually I got the job that Mike and Drew pulled all of us in actually individually and told us, like, so the scene that you audition with, that is not what the show is. That character that you read for, that is not the character that you're playing. It's actually this person, and here's the scenario. And then we all just had our minds blown and continue to have our minds blown for the last couple of years now.
You mentioned your on-screen relationship with Eleanor, with Kristen Bell's character. You guys, obviously, your characters have a unique relationship, and you guys have a really, strong and fantastic chemistry. Is that something that kind of was immediate to you guys right away when you started working together, or was it something that you took time to develop?
It was kind of, it's really easy to have chemistry with Kristen. It's not real tough to find yourself just really liking her a lot. And so, at least on my end, I was just like, besides being afraid of this incredibly talented, funny, beautiful person that I have to like keep up with. Outside of that, I was like, it was very easy for me to just sort of fall for her, and really like enjoy being with her and wanting to, nurture that friendship. And so I think that that is something that it's, I think it sort of developed, but I definitely spent the first couple of episodes and even like my screen test actually, when she was in the room, I spent the first few weeks to months just trying to maintain my maintain my cool and not freak out that I'm, working with Kristen Bell all the time. Like that took some getting over. And but she's just a great person. She's just a solid person, an incredible actor, and like crazy smart and really funny. And so it's easy to just sort of just like her and want to be on her side.
And the thing, I mean, maybe it's just me. One of the things I love about the show and all the different conventions that you guys break every week, but one of the things that I love personally is the fact that we've got Chidi, who's this kind of intellectual guy, kind of bookish, and then you've got Eleanor, who's kind of superficial, et cetera, et cetera. Conventional TV logic, 99 out of 100% of the time, says that A, eventually they'll probably get together, but B, it'll be the guy who has to do the pursuing and the convincing and sort of that same formula that we've seen so many times. Whereas on this show, at least from what we've seen thus far, we've seen the potential in one of your guys' realities that you did in fact find love, but a lot of the time what we've seen is your character actually kind of pulling away and being the one to kind of say this isn't happening. So it's kind of it's an ego stroke for a lot of us geeks out there. But it's
totally.
So yeah, take that, Kristen Bell, and all of you. No, just kidding. But I mean, is that something that you guys like are conscious of? That and a lot of the other sort of character conventions that you guys are changing and presenting in new ways, and the dynamics between each other.
Well, I think that we don't really like those sort of like bird's eye view sort of assessments of the material. I don't know that. I mean, you have to ask Kristen about this necessarily. It's like that's how she feels. But I mean, like I don't clock those things as much. It's like I try to kind of like keep looking at just what's ahead. And the cool thing about this past season with all the reboots and like our realities sort of being shifted so often is that it's like what's on the page is exactly what is there. It's like it's kind of interesting to not have to hold on to a set history going into every scene. It's like the history that we have has been completely wiped. The only thing that we have is the spine of the character and who we, as far as we know, we're coming from Earth, and that's so it's like starting brand new all the time, which is kind of interesting. It's just the spine of the character, which is allows for a lot of really interesting storytelling things to kind of come through. But I think that like also. I think that, with that being said, Chidi is such a neurotic dude and spins out so easily that, I think just the thought of the potential for any sort of human connection is incredibly frightening. So, I mean, like, I think even if he did have, very serious feelings for her, he would probably talk himself out of it. And I think that, in the last episode, last week's episode, on the, I think in the extended cut, like the compliment that I finally get to pay Eleanor is that she's incredibly symmetrical. It's like, it's like obviously it's like it's clear that, that I know that this is a beautiful person that I can see I would be into, but I just can't, my brain won't let me. And I think that, that's sort of the thing that I sort of hold on to is not necessarily that like, the idea of, like how are we turning this sort of idea on its head of like the guy having to pursue. It's more just like, what is it to be that neurotic that you can't even, just indulge in something that might be really great.
Yeah. Yeah, it's and you know, again, we're talking right before the season finale. You know, who knows what's going to happen there? Who knows what's going to happen next season? For those of you listening beyond the season finale, you might have a whole different perspective on things. Maybe not. I don't know. But it's a weird place to be. But I mean, one question that I wanted to ask you just generally about the making of the show that I think is interesting. I feel like for a half an hour comedy, you guys have probably more special effects and, you know, CGI and whatever needs to be done to create that world, the bad place, the good place, than anything else. What is your schedule like as far as shooting these shows? Is it a totally different animal than doing something like, you know, anything else, quite frankly?
Well, you know, man, I've never done like anything with a lot of special effects. Like everything that I've done is like either been stage or sort of, you know, indie stuff where there's like not, you know, there's just not that kind of stuff, not that kind of work. And but I mean, honestly, like for us, it's been a really incredibly humane schedule. I mean, like our special effects team is like they're on it. I mean, like we everything is always very efficient and very quick. So, you know, the tedium I think that a lot of people have in mind when they're dealing with special effects is just something that I personally have not felt a single day in shooting this show. And it's actually, you know, it's a lot of fun, and they do a lot. There's a lot of magic there too, because I mean, sometimes there are things we'll have like the animals actually on set. You know, say like when we're having like that one scene with the big party with the petting zoo. Like all those animals are there, and you know, it's just as magical for us on the day as it is to watch it. You know, it's not so like in a way, it's like all that stuff is like, you know, it's just we don't feel the tedium of like, you know, okay, well, you know, look at this green tennis ball, and you know, in post they're going to put a giraffe there. It's like, no, a giraffe is actually there, and they're going to do something with it in post, which is going to be awesome.
Speaking of being there, can't get as much of a departure from a giraffe as this, but the great Ted Danson, of course, such a huge part of this show, and it's really interesting to see him thrive with you guys in sort of a style of show so different than what a lot of us know him for over the years. Of course, he's been great in dramas, but of course, just a legendary sitcom guy. How does Ted Danson kind of affect, or what is his contribution, I guess, to sort of the mood and the approach that all of you take to being on set? I mean, is he at this point, I mean, is he very proactive in trying to fine tune his character, or is he someone who is more relaxed at this point as a guy who's done everything? What's Ted Danson like to work with, I guess, essentially?
Well, you know, I think he's actually a combination of proactive and relaxed. I think that one of the reasons why Ted is so funny and so great in this role is that he never pushes. But like, there's a million different things happening in his brain and at all times. I mean, he's kind of a brilliant guy, and he maybe, I don't know if he knows how brilliant he is to watch, but I mean, it's like he knows where the funny is, and he knows how to triangulate it in a way that I've never seen in any other actor, period. And so like he's I don't know, he's like it's a master class in how to render comedy. I mean, it's just, you know, you don't want to beg, you don't want to ask for the laugh, because that you know, audiences know that, they're hip to that, and as soon as you start doing that, there's like, well, no, I'm not going to give you that laugh, you know. But like, you know, something about, you know, Ted, he knows how to stay ahead of the audience. He knows how to stay ahead of us, and I think that's where you get the best laugh. The best comedy, I think, honestly comes from when there's an element of surprise there that I think that he just knows how to find it without forcing it. And so I spend a lot of time just kind of watching how he does his work, because it's just like, man, this guy is just, he knows how to be relaxed. And that's the other thing. It's like, you can't see the work, there's no effort there. And I think that's, there's effort. He's trying things. I mean, it's not like visual, like, look at the good work that I'm doing. It's just a very relaxed sort of thing. It feels like it just feels organic. And, so it's great. It's great work with them. It is, and it's really fun to watch people's reaction to his work on the show. We all think it's, it's magic,
Mm-hmm. It's really interesting because, again, we're looking at the season finale. It's February 1st, and it's interesting because so many other shows, you got 22 episodes a season, you got 24 episodes a season. So that's one popular model. Another popular model, of course, is streaming, where it doesn't matter how many episodes you have. People are watching it all back to back to back in one weekend. And you guys are sort of that throwback where you've got a lot of eyeballs that are just hanging and following you, having to wait week after week and then waiting for the break.
Yeah.
Do you think that's been kind of an effective way for your show to build that sort of anticipation for where the story is continuing to go?
It's hard to know. I do feel like there's something special about the throwback aspect of, a long narrative that you have to wait for. And I think that, I think that maybe last year I was probably just like, it's like, how are we going to compete with all these, streaming services, people just like being able to just watch everything in one go and just like, do it in a weekend and that's it. I think that, having the mixture of both, it's like where, it's like once the season's done, it's, there's a catalog there, things that you can just like, binge and catch up, or you can just watch week to week. I think it's a pretty good model. And I think that people I think it's a testament to the storytelling and a testament to Mike and to Mike Schur and our writers' room that we have people that are hanging on, every episode, just chomping at the bit to get to the next one. And I think it's fun to kind of build that anticipation. I think that's it's good to kind of have to wait for stuff a little bit, like not everything just be instantaneous. It's kind of nice, and I think that it's like have the fact that you can go back should you fall behind. You can go back and catch up and binge and enjoy it. Is a great option to have, also. And I think that,
it's kind of
like the fact that we have, I was gonna say, like, the fact we only have 13 episodes, it's also very easily digestible, and so every episode really does something, as opposed to, maybe 22, 24, where you have maybe like 8 or 9 episodes of just, funny bits and maybe some fun stuff, but nothing really moving the story forward.
Yeah.
So I think, the story is always moving forward.
Gotcha. Absolutely. And of course, we're moving forward. We got the season finale coming up, like we said, February 1st. It's rapidly approaching, so hopefully it's still ahead of you when you guys listen to this. But, it's going to be something that people are talking about ahead of time, and I'm sure they're going to be talking about it after the fact. And then, like you said, they go and they catch up and they probably binge it all over again as we wait for season 3. But what's on your agenda at this point? You've got sort of a long, or I don't know if you consider it long, but certainly a layoff and waiting until you get back in the good life saddle again. What other kinds of projects are you looking at doing, or do you just kick back and try to, relax and wait till the next one?
I'm not real good at sitting still. I'm not really, like, as soon as I start relaxing, I feel guilty. So I've been doing some, actually, we've been done shooting for a long time, but I did a play here in New York. And I've actually done a couple of shorts with some friends, and I just wrapped up a feature, like another indie feature. So I try to stay busy, just just stay creative, because that's what I do. It's like I've been waiting a long time to get to a place where I can, like pay my bills and just remain an artist for the rest of the year. And I'm really lucky that this is happening now. So I'm just enjoying it. That's what I do. I just sort of take every opportunity to be creative and stay creative while I'm waiting for the next season to get underway.
That's great. And hopefully we'll be watching this for many a season to come by the look of things. So, again, it's February 1st. Of course, make sure you're all caught up before then. And the great thing about this is, usually with what we know will be some sort of a cliffhanger season finale, in most shows you always wonder, will fill in the blank character die? We kind of probably don't have to worry about that with you guys. So, not a big concern. So we're looking forward to the finale and for all of you back in some way, shape, or form in season 3. But it's been great to talk to you. Thanks so much for joining us this week.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Cool. Thanks.